This is your Aries tarot reading for April 1st. So happy birthday to Carrie Grant. Carrie Grant, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for your love, your contribution, your example of what it means to be a good man, to see somebody doing the right thing all the time, and to giving and living a life of contribution. I'm excited to see you on Saturday, and I want to thank you. So this is the beginning of the tone of your week. And Carrie, you'll get your birthday reading on the weekend for an in-depth one. But Carrie, this is Aries. Here's your general spread for Aries. So I've had some really interesting things happen. I poked myself in the eye. So I've been waiting for my eyes to not be red to go on camera. My car broke down, is in the shop yet again. I dropped my entire water bowl on top of my snake as I'm trying to get her used to being handled. Sploosh! I've had one of those days, right? Woohoo! All right, here we go, Aries. King of Wands, mastery. Okay, so King of Wands has to do with leadership. Leadership in work and leadership in life in general. This is an outward focused energy. Let's see here. We also have the Page of Cups. Page of Cups generally signifies a new relationship, but it definitely means a new beginning. So if you're taking on a new path, I'm seeing the Queen of Wands, which is walking away from some things. And then you have the Empress card. So the Empress is our card for loving leadership. Emperors and empresses are leaders that lead alone. Kings and queens rule together, but emperors and empress are ultimately very alpha. And so when we have that kind of energy, it can tell us that it's either very protective, okay, or either it's protective or loving or nurturing. So you have the Empress energy. So more like the conquering king is the emperor, like go, take, be, have, do. The Empress is to protect and nurture and grow and fortify. So those are the cards that you have there. We have Page of Cups, which means definitely Page of Cups. If you see here, it has an egg, and the egg references new a new relationship or a new beginning. But when we have this card in play, it usually references love. However, this card often means a new beginning, and I see you walking away from something that doesn't serve you or a phase in your life that you feel you want to do something new with. So King of Cups is coming from love as well. I'm also seeing the Knight of Coins. Okay, so that again tells me there might be a project that you're taking into a new direction or investing some money in. I do see the Chariot card. Now the Chariot card can allude to things like travel. This has been one that's been popping up for me. So it can mean travel, it can mean intensity, it means focus, it means drive as well. And if you notice on most of the tarot cards for the Chariot, we find a depiction of the horses facing different directions and the driver being the one that has to focus on getting them to go the right way. So the next little phase that you have is going to be more about like focus and drive, where you're pushing things to be and where you're headed, where you're going. We have the Temperance card, and of course this is beautiful because it means looking in the mirror and it means balance. You can't serve from an empty cup. So service to self and service to others is great, but until you find that perfect balance of being in a place where you're full enough to serve so that you don't deplete your reserves and coming from that place, right? I'm also seeing the Page of Coins, sorry, Swords, Page of Swords. Short temper, feeling as if you're moving with quickness, doesn't necessarily mean short temper, it means decisive as well. Ace of Wands, which is another new beginning. So the Ace of Wands is our card that reminds us that we have this ability to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Now, this is literally in a laboratory. See, so he has all of the items that's necessary for him to succeed. He's got books, knowledge, education. He's got a crystal here, okay? So the crystal is your card, like illumination. He's got a map of the cosmos. He's got a globe and books. So this is telling you that the resources that you have need of and that are necessary for these next phases for you are present in your life, or that you're already instilled with the knowledge that you feel, you know, that you have of a certain subject, or that it's something innate or an ability that should come easily. So it's an affinity. I'm also seeing that there is a lot of criticism going on around you. Now, I don't know if this is with you or someone talking about you, or maybe having to own to something or maybe speak to it. Doesn't always mean gossip, but it does feel like you're on the hot seat. So somebody's questioning you, or curious, may feel like an interview and you're just like, wait a minute, what's this really about kind of thing. I do see that you're like pretty close-lipped, or you're feeling like a ghost, that people aren't listening anyways. And so you're just like watching and waiting and seeing like how things play out before you move forward. You've got literally two swords, two cards, Page of Swords and the Knight of Swords. One is impulsive behavior and the other one has to do with moods and temper. So if you find yourself being short-tempered or snappy, that's going to be pretty common. We also see the Eight of Cups, which is things moving pretty quickly. And this might even be something that has to do with, you know, love, because it's emotions. But the Judgment card is in play. So what the Judgment card has to say about the remainder of this reading is, even though you have all this energy going on, what it tells us is you're going to be doing a lot of self-reflection, indicated by the Temperance card. Okay, so self-reflection, looking in the mirror, taking accountability, taking a look at your contribution to events, how you can fix them. You know, sometimes overthinking can be a thing. And so we're creating a little bit of tension. And so there's this tension, this tense feeling that feels like it's going to kind of continue for the next little bit. And it's always about like, so judgment and justice are two different things. Judgment is, justice is consequences, and judgment is more like, justice is paperwork. Justice is legal matters. Justice is, you know, groups of governing bodies kind of thing, like anything going to the school or the government, etc. Judgment is more like paying consequence for those in such a way that you're seeing it play out in front of you. Now, consequence could be you turn up the heat and it gets warm inside. Consequence doesn't have to be a 4-letter word, right? Although we look at it that way, but what are the consequences of the things that are going on around you? And judgment has to do with intensity, really. It's like all of these things being reckoned or called upon. You're being called upon to do certain things all at once right now. And so it just feels more like timing than anything, not a negative pressure, but this, you're feeling looked at. You might be finding yourself in the public eye a little bit too, or maybe just public opinion and not necessarily a public eye. Let's pull some cards for you from the Mystic Dreamer and see what your Aries moon reading is for those of you that are Aries moon. Book your one-on-one, karmaondeck.com. If you want to jump in on the Tarot 101 series, let me know. I'll be putting that one on coming up in a couple weeks. We bumped it a little bit because everybody was super happy with spring and playing around. Hi, Sam. So let's take a look at what your moon reading is. For those of you on my other social media platform, please join me on my YouTube. I would love your company over there. Your support. You can see the picture in picture. All right, here we go. King of Cups. Emotional much, Aries. Now this is a big, beautiful EQ kind of emotion. I see the Four of Swords. Four of Swords is isolation. I call that my Snow White card. If you look here, she's on a pedestal in a church. And while she's sitting in this church, she's thinking things, and the situation has to be perfect in order to get her to engage with you or talk with you, etc. Right? So this is your card for silence, or that you're keeping your cards close to the chest kind of thing, and maybe being very silent about things, or not wanting to talk about it. I do see some arrogance and some stubbornness going on with Aries right now. There's a waiting period. I guess you're tired of waiting. A lot of us have this energy right now with being tired of waiting, and that's more like spring fever. We just have this excitable energy where we want things to move around, or maybe they're moving around and you're not ready, because I'm seeing this here, the Seven of Cups, which is overwhelm. We've got the Three of Swords, which is miscommunication, and we have the Eight of Swords, which is drama. So you're making some drama up in your head, or you're looking at the eventualities of how things are playing out. In this deck reading, you're getting the Hierophant, the Emperor. Now remember, we talked about Emperor. So this is, and you have the Justice card right next to the Emperor. Interesting that I talked about the Justice, but I'll get to that in just a second. We have the Ten of Cups. Hopefully this is a positive card. Very good. King of Wands. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles. I'm rooting for you. So I have the Ten of Cups, which is perfection. And so when you have the Ten of Cups, it's fantasy. Now there's a fine line between fantasy and delusion. Like, what is it that is it realistic, the things that you're looking for? And I think that you have some grand ideas looking with the Ten of Cups and the King of Wands. It's about how you want to build things and what you want them to look like at the other end. Now I'm seeing the Hangman, which is all Neptune energy. That's Hangman and like a gap in time, or having to wait for things to blow over or to grow or to change or to shift. So the Hangman is a pause. It's a waiting period. And I don't see too much frustration, but I do see drama. You're like, please let this pass. Please let this, whatever it is that's going on, like pass. I'm also seeing the Justice card next to the Emperor. Now, by the way, for those of you that are Aries, take notes here. My sound is off. How is my sound off? Well, come over to the YouTube maybe. I don't know if that helps. Did that help you? Now you guys are all just poking around. Well, if you want to catch the rest of the video or the beginning of the video, there's always a tech problem with me. If you want to catch the video, you can catch it on my YouTube, Karma on Deck. But I was just beginning to say to you, Aries, that we have the Emperor card in play in your moon reading. Now, the Emperor is an Aries card. Notice I put some notes on there. I wrote down Aries for Emperor, which tells us that if you understand astrology, you can understand the Emperor a little more. So Aries is about going and getting things right. And so I'm seeing and you can catch the rest of this, Rhino, on my YouTube if you want to see the beginning of it at least. I apologize, but here we go. So I'm seeing Emperor next to Justice. So the Justice is Libra energy and the Emperor is Aries. So remember I was saying a little while ago that the Emperor is all about go get. Kings and queens rule together. Emperors and empresses are alpha individuals. And so in your sun reading, you have this energy of nurturing things. But then in your moon reading, you have this, I've got to take more control. And you have this Justice card where you're really thinking about, you know, the exactness of how things are supposed to be. And I feel like you're caught up in your head a little bit. And there's this gap, like I was saying with the Hangman, which is weight and time and a little overwhelm. I do see that Aries is very, resistant to change right now because they want things to go back to the way they were. I see the Six of Cups next to the Hierophant, which is I know. So if I could just make things go back to the way they were. So there's a little bit of thoughts like that. Nine of Pentacles is celebration. So for some of you, there's celebration going on in addition to the Ten of Cups, which is fantasy. So I'm, you know, the Ten of Cups is celebration, but the thing that I'm always one to look at things twice because illusion is all, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. If it acts like a snake, it's probably a snake, right? So, but we do have the Ten of Cups. So I always throw out a little bit of caution that if it looks too good, just look twice. But I do see that ultimately there's a lot of beauty coming your way out of this silent phase, out of this quiet drama, out of this like self-evaluation that you're coming out of and this overwhelm, then it's going to shift into celebration, into leadership, and into having a little bit of fun. So that's the Nine of Pentacles here with the Ten of Cups. So if your birthday's coming up, Aries. Okay, here we go. Let's pull a card from the Mystic Dreamer. Divination of the Ancients. I always get that wrong. For your final message of the week. To focus on. You ready? Astrology, destiny. So this has to do with time and timing and what your purpose is. So Aries, are you looking into what you're meant to do, why you're here, what you feel like you're supposed to be doing? So astrology also, we were talking about astrology. So are you interested in astrology? These are your signposts and your guideposts. So perhaps you're supposed to study astrology, or perhaps you're supposed to make an exact path, which astrology is a little bit more exact. There's angles and lines and details and degrees and numbers, right? So maybe if you are starting to plan something moving forward, astrology has to do with that planning. Set your path straight. Like I say, guys, the answer to every question is love, and I hope you always hear me say that in your head when you think of me. I'm going to be right back here after this immediately, and I will be doing Taurus. So if anybody knows Taurus, or if you're a Taurus, please join me. I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for hanging out with me.